someone sawing in the background. So here's my secret for getting your first job as a developer. Learn React Native. I was getting so frustrated. I was putting a lot of energy into getting good at React and Redux and getting to that skill level that companies would be crazy not to hire me, right? Whether it was the hiring freeze or who knows what, I was not getting anywhere. I decided to look into React Native as a way to just learn something new. Immediately an entrepreneur from England reached out to me and hired me to create a React Native app for this business idea he had. After that, another entrepreneur from England wanted to hire me to manage an app that he had built and also create a new app. And I actually had to turn him down in order to accept the full-time position I was offered from a company in California that also wanted me to create a React Native app, which is what I'm doing now. I didn't even get to work on any personal projects because people just wanted to hire me right away. It's a good problem to have. Since getting my job, I've had multiple recruiters and also entrepreneurs approach me about React Native positions. So, I don't know, React Native just seems like the thing. So why is React Native so in demand? My theory is that companies cannot spare their normal React developers to go into mobile development. For example, the first entrepreneur who reached out to me, he was actually a web developer himself. And he actually looked into doing a React Native app himself before he reached out to me. But in the end, his time was too valuable doing the things that he was already good at to spend time picking up this new thing. It was worth it to him to pay me thousands of dollars to build this app for him than to try to pick it up and do it himself. Basically, it's a question of, if you have a lawn and you already have a weed whacker, do you just use the weed whacker to do the whole lawn, or do you go buy a lawnmower? Yes, I weed whack the lawn. I do it because it's great exercise and because it's oddly satisfying. And yes, I do it in a skirt. That's the kind of world we're in. When you get into the business world and the pros and cons, the cost to benefit ratio of hiring someone who already knows React Native versus getting one of your other developers to get into it, it seems like companies are going with hiring someone who already knows React Native. And let's face it, mobile development is not easy. At least the development environment is more complicated than web development, because you can't just run it in the browser, open up your dev tools, everything's working fine. You have to install all these different applications, get your emulators and simulators and React Native debugger and all these things, and then there's the build process. It really is a lot more specialized. So React Native is the way to go. It's what finally got my foot in the door and actually gives me confidence that if I did want to change, I would be able to find an opportunity. I'm very happy in my current position. I want to just say that. I also want to add that it's really fun. I love opening it on my own device, and it's just so beautiful, just like, whoa, it's a real app. And look, you have the drawer navigator, and I can use my camera and all this awesome stuff. And I'm just beginning too. Like, I'm just still scratching the surface, and there's so much more. I looked into React 360, which is like 3D, building 3D apps. I've also looked a little bit into Vero React, which is like virtual reality or augmented reality. And that sounds really cool. I'd have to get into like 3D modeling and animation and stuff with that, but I could look into if there's any free libraries for that. But just the possibilities are endless. It's so cool. Web apps are so mobile friendly nowadays. It's like, why do you even need a mobile app? For example, in the app that I'm building for work, they're using background location tracking and push notifications and like Google Maps. These are all very specific to a mobile app. In the one I built for the entrepreneur in England, it used the camera, of course, camera and video, which you wouldn't use on a web app. So there are many things like that that make a mobile application just make sense. That's another reason it's in demand. I actually use this course on Udemy or Udemy, however you say it. I'll put a link to it in the description. And if you get it on sale, it's only 10 bucks. If it's not on sale, the first part of the course is free on YouTube, so you can always start with that and then just wait for a sale. That's what I did, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it. And not only will you learn React Native, but you will also extremely deepen your understanding of React and Redux, and just best practices in general. Like, it's extremely clean code. It's great stuff. If my experience says anything about the general market, if you aren't getting anywhere with just knowing React, get into React Native.